It's a revolution, style revolution, cultural revolution.
When we come out here, we have a fight.
Evolution does not occur in one stage. It's an evolutionary process. Like people go through different things.
The real content of any kind of revolutionary thrust lies in the principles and the goals that you're striving for.
That you are here. And to be here means that you can't be anywhere else.
We have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing.
It's a revolution, style revolution, cultural revolution.
Yo, what up?
Yo, what's up?
You tuned into the Peaceful Rage podcast
Featuring Matt Murphy and Dr. Wes Bellamy. Two brothers,
working in our community,
active, caring for our families.
still trying to get back,
We see what's going on with the big picture.
and we pissed off about it.
Peaceful Rage Podcast.
Peaceful Rage podcast. Yo, I saw a little thing where I forget where I saw it or read it at, and it was like, yo, black men who really rock with each other, there's at least 3 daps in every conversation. So there's the initial dap, the greeting, right?
beginning,
Yo, what up?
the middle, and the
Yo,
end.
it's good. And in the middle joint, you agree on some kind of comment.
Yes.
Yo, you right. Yeah, you right. And then when you
build.
leave, we build it. And then when you leave, there's the exit dap.
Man, yeah. And there might be another one just on the strength.
Yeah, just on GP. It's
Yeah,
another
yeah.
one in that. Yo, you right, bro. You right. Or your man could give you some advice.
Right.
And you be listening. You dap him on the advice like, yeah, man, you right.
Yeah.
You right.
Bruh. Yeah, I know we was getting on some heavy things before we started recording, man. So
Yeah, bro.
yeah, we was trying to get our vibe right. But
Man, I just want to tell everybody, man, I appreciate Black Jesus, aka Murph, man.
This dude.
Yo, he just that's my big bro, no doubt. And
Yeah,
it's good
man.
for brothers to be able to talk.
yeah, word. Yeah, I mean, we get into some real things. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think part of what we're doing with this show is carrying over some of the real conversations that we have. You know, obviously everything's not for everybody, but at
Definitely.
the same time, you know, but at the same time, it's like worthwhile that we get into these topics because these are things that brothers talk about, you know what I mean, when they're with their people is really trying to work through just the issues of life because we all people, you know?
Right. So, I mean, one of the things that we've been talking about a great deal, I know you and I, we have, sometimes we deal with this issue, but I wanted to talk about today, man, like the topic of ambition, quote unquote. Ambition, how it's perceived, how some individuals may look at a very ambitious person as like you have an ambition is something that's become negative. And like I would really like to encourage brothers to be as confident as you can possibly be, right? And there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance or narcissism, but I personally believe like to be successful in this world today, specifically as a black man, in a world and society in which you can be shot and killed. Shout out and rest in peace to Stephon Clark. Or, you know, at every turn, individuals are trying to bring you down and or break you down or tell you that you're invaluable or you're not worthy or you're not as good as anyone else. Why is it a negative thing when we are sure of ourselves or if we have goals and ambition and want to go out and do it? Like, why do I have to be fake humble for you to be secure in yourself?
Ooh-wee. Wow. So we're talking about motivation. We're talking about drive. We talking about, you know, ambition, right?
Right.
And in many ways, these are admirable things. But the challenge, you know, like you're talking about, becomes when you have that drive, that motivation, that push,
Right.
and that propels you into certain places. And there are people that you know love around you, surround you, whatever it is, and they don't have it in the same way.
Right.
Because we know that drive and consistency oftentimes trumps talent.
Always.
Right.
Or
So you
more
got
often than
somebody,
not, yeah.
right. You got somebody who's just like, wow, that person is dope at the thing that they do, but they lazy as hell.
Right.
You know, they'll never get as far as that mediocre cat that just doesn't stop.
Right.
And he's probably going to get even better, even that he doesn't have the talent. He's going to get better because he's put in the work.
How do you build ambition?
Ooh, how do you build ambition?
Like, do you believe that's like a learned trait or behavior, or that's just something you born with, or is it something that, like, you know, again, it's
Well, I
learned
think
or
some
you
people
grow
are
to?
more. I think some people are more assertive, more aggressive. Others are more passive in their general demeanor as humans. You know what I mean? Like that's just their general flow, and
Right.
and they're satisfied in that they don't feel like they have to accomplish like great things to be who they want to be, and that's cool. therein lies the difference between people,
Right.
at their core.
So let me ask you this question. If an individual believes that, they're just more so passive, they don't always have to be in the quote unquote front, or, I'm not one that's going to, put myself out there or whatever, do they have the right to complain about the person who is quote unquote ambitious, or who goes after everything they want, or they put themselves on Front Street, or they do things to put themselves in position to be seen or be noticed so that they can achieve whatever it is they want?
I think it depends on the relationship. What's the role that passive person has with that more assertive person?
Right.
You know what I mean? If the assertive person is the lead, right? And depending on what it is and how they're leading that person that's a bit more passive or supportive, I should say. You know what I mean? Like, they could have the right to say something.
Right.
It just depends on the role.
Do you believe that brothers are getting to a point in which, like, we're more supportive of each other, or are we still hating on each other?
Wow. That's a good question. I think people are people. I got a friend who, young lady, she's getting a job in another city. She's moving away. And so we were just having this like little fun conversation about relationships. And I said, well, maybe you're going to find, a guy in the town that you moved to.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, I don't know. Because it's a big city.
Yeah.
And I said, you're going to have more chances. She said, yeah, but men are still men. And I was like, word. And it wasn't even a negative sense. It was just like people are people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah. So anyway.
See, I believe that brothers are. I feel like we're in a time right now in which we're some of the, like, brothers are more supportive. I feel like people as a whole, we're more supportive than we've ever been, even if it's the fake love, right? But I feel like a lot of it is genuine.
Just because they get likes on Instagram?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's one way to quote unquote validate someone else, but I feel like it's becoming really corny or played out to be a hater. True. Like, to always say something negative or ignorant.
Right.
Like, that shit is just whack to me.
Right.
And I feel like there's a lot of other people who are believing in the fact that when we uplift each other and support each other, especially brothers, right? And maybe it's because, like, I'm getting older or something, I don't know, but I find a lot less or much more fewer people who are just negative, specifically brothers, towards each other just for the sake of it. And maybe that's because the circles that I've been running to.
I was just getting ready to say, I think part of it is the level that you find yourself going to and the circles that you run in. And so when you get to a certain place, you find overall more support than you do in other places where it's a crab in a barrel mentality. You know what I mean? So yes, I think support is real. Yes, I think fake love is real. And I think trolling is real. So just as much as we could say people are showing more love nowadays, I think we could also say people are trolling just as much nowadays, hiding behind whatever. And so
trolling is definitely at an all-time high.
Right, no doubt. So you're running in certain levels with people that are confident, right, ambitious, and doing things that they've always dreamt of doing. You moving in the same direction, so there's more positivity in those circles versus people who feel desperate or feel as though they don't have the options and looks like the world is yours,
right?
And there's that dichotomy.
So I think because, like, whenever, and I'm not like some unicorn or an anomaly or anything, because I've maybe accomplished a couple of things, but I do believe that brothers who feel as if they've accomplished a certain level, or even if they're still trying to reach a certain level, they have a responsibility to speak life into others. Like, I was talking about this the other day. Like, real shit. Ever since I was, I can't even remember, like maybe 5 or 6. And I may have, like, grew up in not the best neighborhood, or we may not have been in the best household or whatever. I always remember people telling me, like, you gonna be good. Like, you special. Or, like, there's something good about you. And I started hearing it so much, I just started believing it. And I wonder, like, as we get older, and of course life jades us, and we find different things that we be like, damn, and maybe I'm not as good, or I compare myself, I'm not, as this or that person. But if we could just support each other, specifically as Black men, how much of a difference would it make if you just told a brother, you know what, man, I believe in you, dog. And it don't gotta be, sometimes we live in such a hyper masculine world where it comes off quote unquote as soft. But I think a lot of those barriers are dropping, and it's cooler now, and it's much more accepted to be supportive of your brother. And it's not seen as anything other than me loving you man to man and wanting you to accomplish your goals and your dreams.
Was that just that emo millennial shit? I'm messing with you.
This dude messes up the whole vibe, bro. Yo, next topic, man. Yo, what up? You tune into the Peaceful Rage podcast featuring me, Dr. Wes Bellamy, and my man, Matt Murphy.
I think I would agree with you on many levels. You know what I mean? The support that we're able to show each other in different ways also was a good thing. You know what I mean?
So what do you mean? Elaborate on that.
So like, yes, on social media you can like something,
Yeah.
right? You can share something, but also you can have an awareness of what's happening in other places.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And increase the awareness that's happening. So I think about recently there was the strike in Oklahoma for all the teachers that walked out.
Right.
And they talked about the guy that started the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Right. And he just shared it with a few people that he knew.
Yeah.
And they shared it and they had like 73,000 people following the page in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
And so that motivated them to action and that we're going to see change. And so I just say that like some of those small things are still valuable that we can do. Like, I don't know where it's going to go, but I just feel compelled to do this thing.
Yeah.
Maybe no one else is going to do it. This is what I feel.
Yeah.
So we were talking before we started recording about calling
Yeah.
and a sense of purpose. Like, I don't know how it's going to turn out.
Right.
But I got to take this step.
But I got to do it. That reminds me of like the hashtag Black Men Smile.
Okay.
And like, there's a lot of little things like that. Like, I love my brother because, and like, I believe that you're right, because we live in this information age, things are much more susceptible and easier to share, and things can catch fire much quicker. But it's all about us opening ourselves up to receive whatever the energy is it's going to be in terms of us being able to make a change and do something positive, which I do think like a lot more brothers are able to do. Even from the fact in which, like, so, some people have different feelings about social media, specifically when you talk about ambition. Like, I like seeing my homies post their accomplishments or posting the things that they're doing because it motivates me.
Right.
Like, and I look like, yo, man, that's really dope. They're doing X, Y, and Z. Shoot, if they're doing that, then maybe I can do it too, right? Or maybe I can stay on my grind, and then we compliment and we support each other. Like, I think that's one of the illest things there are, and I'm hoping it's a trend, quote unquote, that continues and remains a staple in our community, so that it can pounce on and trounce the negativity, because that hate can also make a person, just go into a corner and not want to do anything. When people like, who you think you is? You know what I'm saying? Like, why you always trying to be in the camera? Or why you trying to do this or do that? Right? And you could just be trying to do something good or positive, and it'll make you not want to do anything. And that's why I believe it's important for us to support each other when we see each other doing well.
Yeah, there are a lot of detractors out there, man. I've always been the kind of person that I love to see people doing well.
Yeah.
In general, I love to see people doing good. Like,
yeah.
Hey, I remember you used to be this, and now you doing this.
Right.
And I love to see black people doing well. You know what I mean? It's like specifically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love that. And at the same time, I think that there's a degree of expectation, and we talked about this before, that I carry in saying, like, black person, I love you and I want to see you do well. And that also means just because, like, we look the same and you used to conduct a business in a certain kind of way, you can't be janky.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So seeing somebody do well, it's
Right.
not just like on some old slick hustle shit. It's
Right.
not just on some old janky, I'm trying to get by, but it's a beautiful thing to me, man.
So if you call them out on their quote unquote jankiness, is that perceived as hate, or could that be love?
I mean, it could be hate. They could perceive it as hate, but I believe that, one, if they know me, and they know I'm gonna speak to them in a genuine fashion, and two, even if they don't, like, maybe they'll think back on it one day down the road and be like, you know what, he was spitting game, he was spitting truth. Like, the brother bought my product,
right,
and told me you need to step it up.
Right.
I spent with you, bruh. I did spend with you. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like that. Like, I just like judged you and walked away. You know what I mean? But,
right. That could be love, or in
that's
love.
That is love. I mean, your mama gonna tell you the truth, right?
Yeah.
Your brothers are gonna tell you the truth, and so I may not know you, but I feel like, hey, here I am spending what I've worked to earn with you. Let me at least give you this. I've spent on your product. I believe in it that much, and let me give you a tip, because I'm not a critic of criticism.
So do we have to be thick-skinned enough to be able to receive those kind of comments in love, quote unquote?
You have to. You have to.
Do
Because
you think that separates people who are successful from unsuccessful?
I was just getting ready to say that, man. That's part of that drive. That's part of that drive. Listen, we talk about ambition. We talk about motivation, right? Quick story. Right?
Yeah.
So
Told y'all Black Jesus got stories for days.
I got stories for days. So I had moved from Ohio to Virginia, right? And I remember it was, I don't remember like what time of the year it was, but NASCAR was coming on.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything about NASCAR, not at all. And I was around a bunch of black people that were amped about this NASCAR race getting ready to jump off. It was a Daytona 500.
Word.
I'm like, okay. Okay.
All right,
So,
cool.
so I was in the country, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, Daytona 500 comes on. I'm watching this joint. And that was the first race I ever watched. Now they're explaining things to me. And as they're explaining to me, I'm like, okay, I'm great. I'm gaining an appreciation for it as I'm watching the technique and all the things, right? Because I understand it. Oh, he's doing this, he's doing that. That race was the race that Dale Earnhardt Sr. died in.
Oh,
I watched the crash, right? Now, I didn't know, nothing from nothing. I'm just watching like, that. It's terrible. He's the biggest name.
Right.
It was a thing, right? Everybody had number 3 on the back of their car. You from down south.
Everybody. You seen
number
everywhere.
3, right?
Yeah.
So I remember a couple years later, a movie came out on VH1 about his life.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was kind of interested. I watched him crash, the first race I ever watched. But plus, dog, for real though, he was a champion.
Yeah.
He was the top of the top.
Yeah. He was like
so
Kobe,
I'm watching this.
MJ, yeah.
Early in the game, he's a race car driver, young man, right? Meets this, he's the man.
Yeah.
Meets this woman. They get married. She met him. He was a race car driver.
Yeah.
She met him because he was a race car driver, because he was at a race, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. Time went on. They had a kid. She started feeling like, this is dangerous. I don't want to lose you. She tried to pull him away. They end up splitting up. Down the road, meets another one. Through racing.
Yeah.
He's a race car driver. He's a champion. Meets another one. She knows that. She knows the game she's getting into, right? What happens? Same thing. She doesn't want to lose him. Tries to drive him away from racing. They split. Again, another marriage. And I watched this movie. I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, this is what I walked away with. I said, it's hard to be a man with a vision. It's hard to be a man with a dream. He's the champion. Can't nobody take away the things that he did on that racetrack. But look in his personal life and the difficulties that he had to maintain in order to keep where he was at in the sport. And I was like, to me, I'll never forget that. It's probably been 15 years since I watched that movie, but I'll never forget, like, there is a price to pay for ambition. It's not bad, but there's a price. Yo, what's up? You're listening to the Peaceful Rage podcast featuring me, Matt Murphy, and Dr. Wes Bellamy.
So there's certain things you have to sacrifice with your ambition.
And I ain't saying it's 3 marriages, but
Has there been things you've had to sacrifice with your ambition? Or because of your vision and your drive and just the person who you are, like as the black man you are, do you feel like there's things you've had to sacrifice?
Relationships. There's been misunderstandings. There's been tension. You know what I'm saying? There's been people that don't get it. You know what I mean? And that typically would support you in one move and you make another move and they don't.
Right.
But you believe in that move that you making and you have to stand on that, even if the people that used to support you don't.
How do you deal with it?
You just keep living, bro. You stay focused on that vision.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You stay focused on that vision. Yeah. So what about you, man?
That's tough, bro. Like, there's been a lot of sacrifices, and I'm only 31. I mean, like you say, sacrificing relationships, sacrificing fun times at the club, quote unquote, growing pains. Yeah, quote unquote, right? Growing pains, but understanding that, like, I believe there's a calling on my life and there's something that I have to do, but also knowing that not everybody's going to understand that. And that's a hard thing, I feel like, for a lot of younger brothers to understand. Like, there's things that you want to do in life, and because others don't quite get it, they will try to talk you out of it. So are you going to have the willpower to be able to remain on your path to reach your goal and carry out whatever your ambitious dreams are? Or are you going to conform to what others want you to do? Or are you going to try to massage your goal, finesse that joint to be able to fit into somebody else's box? And I feel like the ones who quote unquote make history, they're the ones who say, forget it, I'm going to do what I have to do, but also are willing to deal with the consequences. right?
That's part of the game. I mean, big risk, big reward.
Yeah, but are the rewards worth the risk?
Sometimes.
Yeah. And I believe
listen,
they
life
are.
ain't fair.
Right.
Not everybody wins.
And that's like I feel like those things are sometimes cliches, but people don't quite really understand that.
Okay,
like life is not fair.
Let's just flip it like this. We
Yeah.
start talking about ambition, drive, motivation, and ability, and I say everyone's not the same. Have you ever dunked a basketball?
Yeah.
I haven't. Right?
Right.
Okay, that's a pain that I have in my life.
Right.
No, but for real, like as much as look here, as much as I've worked, as much as I
Right.
tried, like when I was younger, like I'm gonna get this, it just never happened. Right?
Yeah.
Like I came to terms early with the fact that I would never play in the NBA.
Yeah,
Like you know what I mean?
right.
Okay.
Right.
So I said it to say, do I feel like a victim because I'm not 6'4", 6'6"? You know what I'm saying? And I
long
can palm
arms.
two,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Palm
Right.
two basketballs at a time. Like, nah, I don't feel victimized behind that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if that was your dream, you know what I mean, and you haven't been able to adjust and your ambition hasn't been able to pivot, then you're going to feel like you lost something, you missed something, and whatever somebody else is doing that you wanted to do, it's not fair. They got it and you didn't. Meanwhile, you didn't take that same energy and effort that you put into the thing that didn't work and try something else.
But I consider that finding your purpose. Because maybe it wasn't your purpose to be 6'6" and be an NBA basketball player. Your purpose
you
is
have to accept that
Right.
reality. That's what
I
I'm
agree.
saying. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can still be successful, and we can talk about the success,
Yeah.
but you can still be successful and not be the initial thing you thought you were supposed to do.
Oh, definitely, bro. And I mean, I remember thinking about like when we first started talking about moving the statues. I never forget there was a conversation I had with one of a person who I really respect, and I was explaining to them. They was like, "Yeah, I saw in the paper like you said like you had a press conference about like moving the statues and the Confederate people were out there," and I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Are you crazy? Like, do you know that's something that them people would never let us do across the country? Like, we ain't never gonna be able to do that." He's like, "You ain't gonna be able to change that. Like, you can't change any of that." And I was like, it hurt me. Them say like he couldn't see the vision, right? And he knew that the day we had the press conference, like people was out there saying they gonna hang me, like all kind of stuff, right? And he knew, but he still said some things that like almost crushed my dream because he didn't see the vision. And along this route, specifically with this whole Confederate stuff, like we've seen cities and communities throughout the country move their statues. A lot of it's been catapulted by what we've done here in Charlottesville.
Right.
And like people like along the way some have jumped on board, many have jumped off, only to jump back on board because they didn't quite see the vision and they would say negative things and like talk trash. And like those things can weigh on a person's psyche. They can like weigh you down, like reading certain things on the internet or whatever, because people don't know what kind of mental space you're in when you're reading all this negativity or people saying things about you. But if you hold steadfast to your dream, your vision, your goal, and remember what you're doing it for, and if it's for the right reason, not for selfish gain, that ambition could catapult you into a stratosphere that you never thought you would be in.
Right. And at the same time, you're in the stratosphere in a place you never thought you'd be, but in many ways you still are early in the game, meaning this. Think about when Barack Obama got elected, right? And we start talking about the vision that Martin Luther King had, you know what I mean? And how in so many ways that Obama kind of embodied that. Like we had this significant kind of victory, if you would, when it came to, race in America. All right, cool. And at the same time, how many more of the things that MLK talked about and the policies that he, embraced, especially later on in the game before he got killed, how many of those things have we not seen develop? And so he died. How many seeds did he plant? How many trees sprouted up as a result? Whether that's the Andrew Youngs down to things that you doing and the thousands in between that have been inspired and motivated. So I said to say, part of some people's calling is to plant seeds. Ooh. They don't get the opportunity to pick the fruit. Yeah. They just plant the seed. They don't get to see that harvest. Right. And so in so many ways, there were seeds that were planted of what happened here in Charlottesville and other cities have been able to pick the fruit from that tree. You know what I'm saying? And see those changes. And so some people ain't gonna catch it, and they gonna think, hey, maybe you failed. The statue's still sitting up there.
Right.
Whatever the case is. But there was activity, there was germination. Right. And growth that came out of what started. And so, bruh, you can't even stunt that, bruh. Because that bullshit that people try to talk about, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. We don't know the potential of a seed, dog.
That's true. That's real. So even what you just said, that game, that knowledge, right? How many brothers who are quote unquote just day to day get a chance to hear that kind of encouragement?
I mean, anytime they get on to the Peaceful Rage podcast show, you know, follow us. No, but go ahead. No, but yeah, I don't know, bro. I don't know, man.
So again, I think that's why it's so important for us to be able to be willing to speak life into each other. Because like even the game you just gave me just now, bro, that just motivated me. I mean, Murph and I were talking. I give him a little bit, Murph, if you don't mind.
Please do.
A little bit before. How much time we got? We gotta get off.
Yeah, we good.
We gotta get off. All right. So before we came on the show today, man, yesterday was a tough day for me. Now I'm dating the episode when we recorded. But every April 4th is normally really tough, right? I'm from Atlanta. Grew up in Atlanta, and like, you know, not too far from Dr. King's house. Everything in Atlanta is close to each other, essentially. Right. Far but close. So, you know, you always learn about it and you hear about it, whatever. But I will say maybe like probably the last 15 or 16 months, it's been a lot more like real to me. The stuff that like Dr. King would say, he would do, like it resonates a lot more. So yesterday was just a really tough day. Like April 4th, it's the 50th anniversary of he died. Like I'm crying all day. Like I don't know why. Like I'm grieving. Like it was like my dad passed away. This is the day my father died or something. That's how I was feeling. Or my grandfather or something. And it's like, I was even feeling like kind of resentment when I would see different people doing 50th anniversary celebrations and like, yo, man, y'all don't really get it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all would be the same ones that, like Dr. King say, it's ridiculous to expect a man to pull himself up by his bootstraps when the man has no boots, right? Or he would say things like, you know, economic freedom is one of the things that we must have. I may have led my people to a road to hell because we don't have the economic, freedom that we should have. Or, you know, just his boldness or his ability to be able to say that, nah, we're going to push forward and get policies changed no matter what. And like a lot of things that people don't realize, like even his daughter would say, like she said this on his birthday earlier this year. Yo, Dr. King was one of the most hated individuals on the planet when he died.
Right. That's the thing. Because when we get to that place where we memorialize and we remember King, right? There's this vision that we've been given.
Yeah, nostalgia.
Nostalgia. You know what I'm saying? And so little kids think of he gave a great speech one time.
Right.
And he had this vision and he won a Nobel Peace Prize. Meanwhile, he was hated. He was, you know what I'm saying? They stabbed him in the back. They played him. They conspired against him. You know what I mean?
Like I've heard Jesse Jackson tell me how like they would come to places, him and Dr. King, Andrew Young told me similar things. Like they would go to places, come in cities, and people would be like, yo, why are you here? Like leave. You all, it needs to be black folks.
Right.
Like y'all are only here to cause trouble. Y'all gonna make it way worse.
And then probably the same folks would be like, and my daddy marched
with them. Right.
That shit, man.
Right.
On,
and
man.
It's like, yo, it was he just faced a lot of vitriol. And of course, you know, he got love as well. But like the complication of being able to lead, quote unquote, a movement. And I don't think people quite understand, yo, the toll that it takes on you when you're trying to do something just to better people or help their lives, and either they're so afraid, they're so envious, they're so jealous that they just want to tear you down. Even people who look like you, it just makes you feel really, really small and bad. But the fortitude that he had to push through and persevere, and the ambition that he had to possibly dream, quote unquote, like no pun intended from talking about the speech, but to actually dream and believe and conceive a notion that, yo, we are going to reach the promised land. I may not be there with you. Like his speech the night before he died. Like I've seen the rooftop. Like I may not get there with you, but I've seen it. We're going to get there. It just was so overwhelming. And I say all of that to say, like, yo, before the podcast started, Murph was like, yo, just tell me what's up. And I had a chance to just talk to my brother, not about like knowing the show stuff,
right,
but him just listen and hear and then give me some game to be able to continue to push through when I leave here. And I feel like that's the kind of shit that more of us as brothers need. And if we had more of it, which I think we're getting to that point, but if we had more of it, would we see fewer broken men who are down a path to penitentiary, who are down a path in which they have, 7 to 8 kids by several different women, and they choose to not take care of them? Would we value ourselves if we heard from our fellow brothers that it's okay for you to be vulnerable? I believe in you, brother. I support you. Let's help you find out what you want to do, opposed to just being ignorant and or kicking him while he's down because we think that's the cool thing to do. That love, man, that brotherhood, to cultivate your ambition to get to where you want to be and or need to be, is something that's one of the most beautiful things that brothers can give to each other. So let's do that.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
My bad. That was a whole sermon.
No, yeah, well, yeah. All you gotta do is just make the invitation now. But keeping it funky, man. That's what it is, man. And I think here, and this is probably a whole other topic one day.
Yeah.
Insecure brothers with this fake sense of security. So what happens is when you really are comfortable in who you are and what you're doing, you can then support what other brothers are doing. But oftentimes it's the haters that have the most self-doubt. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And so they're the ones that actually throwing shade
right,
because they don't even believe in themselves. So they can't catch it. Meanwhile, you got a vision that's driving you and compelling you. You may or may not see it. Martin Luther King didn't see it, right? Moses didn't get to live in the promised land, right? I mean, but people followed them to the place to get them to that next wave. And so it's the same thing, bro. Like, you know what I mean? We continue on the work that Dr. King did, that so many other people that we don't even know did, and at the same time, like, we get to pour into these young people, we get to pour into the people in our community, and we don't know what's going to happen when they go on and do the thing. And when they say, man, y'all remember back in 2018, you know what I mean? And they do that thing, you know.
Or hear this podcast.
Right, exactly.
For that matter, right?
No doubt.
Yeah. It's getting heavy in here, man. On that note, be sure to follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook. Yo, give us 5-star reviews. Shout out to my man, The Ear, Damani for Prez, at Damani for Prez. So again, man, hit us up on all social media sites at Peaceful Rage Podcast. Yo, drop some comments, drop some reviews. Let us know what topics you want to hear us talk about.
No
you
doubt.
Know what I'm saying? And we appreciate the support early on, man. We know it's been a lot of people, been showing us love and whatnot. We really, really do appreciate that, giving some good feedback. So, everybody's talking about your Chisholm comments.
Yeah. No doubt,
talking
man.
about your Chisholm comments.
Hey,
man.
and much love just to the family, man. Everybody out there, man, that's shared, that's liked, that's giving us reviews, man. All that, man, is beautiful. We appreciate it. We're working hard. It's late, right? You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
But we here grinding. So, yo, as always, man, we want to thank the listeners. Appreciate y'all rocking with us.
Absolutely, man.
Shout out to our sponsors.
Life of You Marketing, Ty Cooper.
Shout out to our producer, The Ear. Yo, what up, man? At Damani for Prez, hit him up. And also, if you want to be able to sponsor with us, or you want to come through on the show, look out for us. Hit us up on Gmail at peacefulragepodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on social media at Peaceful Rage Podcast on all social media websites. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.